Welcome back guys to Netcode-Hub channel. In our previous video, we explored how to build and configure an API gateway using Ocelot in .NET 8 microservices. Today, we are taking it a step further by ensuring that each web API in a microservice architecture listens only to the API gateway. This means we will configure our services to reject any API call coming from outside the gateway address and port. This setup is crucial for maintaining a secure and efficient microservice environment. In microservice architecture, having a centralized API gateway like Ocelot helps manage and route requests efficiently. However, it is vital to ensure that all external traffic goes through this gateway. Allowing direct access to individual services that you have in your microservice can lead to security vulnerabilities, inconsistent traffic handling, and potential misuse of resources. By restricting access to each service and ensuring they only accept requests from the API gateway, we can enhance security by preventing unauthorized access and potential attacks on individual services. Aside from that, we can also simplify traffic management by ensuring all traffic policies, such as rate limiting and load balancing, we can apply them consistently. And also, we can maintain security integrity by protecting services from being overwhelmed by direct requests, which could bypass essential gateway level controls such as authentication and authorization. So implementing a restriction for APIs or services in microservice to listen to only the API gateway is very important. Now let's dive in and see why this is important and how we can implement this. So if you're able to watch the previous video, that is where we created our microservices. Now in that we created a solution and added 3 projects. They are all web APIs. Now in order to add the API or the gateway, we added 1 project, the same web API, but this is known as the gateway. We did not issue the middleware of controller, so this is not having a viewpoint or a controller access point. Since it is a gateway, it needs to connect all the other microservices or all the other APIs or services within a microservice so that it can connect to each, and now any request that comes in from a client will pass to the gateway API, then it goes to the specific endpoint or the service. So for me to go through with it, if you haven't checked it out, I'll put the link in this video description. You can check that one out. Well, if you also have a microservice that you can follow along whilst we try to implement this restriction on this microservice. So we created a solution because we have 3 projects in here, and what we did here was quite simple. From the controller to this, we had this gateway, and then we have identity API, and then we had weather API. Identity API has only a method, and this method returns, or endpoint returns, a list of users. When you go to weather controller 2, it also has a weather forecast controller which returns the weather data as default. We did not do much, but let's say this, when we make a call to this, the following endpoint, we need to retrieve what we have set in here. Okay, and we don't want this to be accessed direct. We want this to be accessed through the API gateway. So in that we created another API, and I will name it as a gateway, whereby we install the Ocelot package as a NuGet. Then we configure the Ocelot.json. That's where we need to specify our downstream path and the upstream path, and the host and the port. And as I speak, this is working. We can get data from these various services through this gateway. Now let's try this and see. So the API gateway is running on the HTTPS and the others are running on HTTP. So let me this is a gateway. It's running HTTPS. So I'm going to right click on weather, then debug this, start new instance, and I'll do same to the identity, and also start new instance, and now we have our API gateway, also start new instance. Yes, so you can see that all these controllers, all these projects are running, and we have it. So this is our gateway. Since we did not map controllers, we are not seeing any view. We don't have Swagger as well. So this is what we have for our gateway. And now when you go to the next one, you can see we have our this identity endpoint, a controller, or maybe the project, and you can see we have our weather controller as well. Good. Now if I click on this, this can return a list of users, and that is what you have in here. And now this can also return a list of weather forecast, but we don't want this to happen. Here we are having a direct access with the port of 7001, and now this also with the port of 7002. Now we can also access the same endpoint from here. Now this is our API gateway, which has a universal port that is 7000, and in that, in order for us to access the user, we need to have /API and now user endpoint. Now this will give us the list of users. So let's wait and see. Yes, we have the list of users in here, and that is this one. The same thing applies to, we can get a list of weather data as well. So when you open a new tab and now we paste this, we change this to weather forecast. This is also going to return weather forecast data for us. So you can see that they are having the port of 7000 and 7000, right? So we are able to access this endpoint through our gateway API. But the problem is we don't want to have a direct access to this, because in this we may implement authentication, authorization, rate limiting, and other features to this, which will handle all requests that come in. But with this, we are not implementing any of them on each of the service in here. So how do we make this service private? How do you make this service reject all direct calls, which is having from the port of 7002 or 7001, and listen to only 700? How do we do it? We can implement this in two ways. First way is using we can set firewall so it can reject all calls, and now listen to only call with a 7000. But in case the environment changes, then you need to also set the same firewall in there, right? Now we can also implement middleware. So middleware is going to add maybe a feature to any request, and that's going to be for verification. As soon as it gets to the client here, this client will verify, is this request coming from the gateway? If yes, then it can give this request green light. But if no, then it's going to reject it. I think this is a suitable way that we can handle that. So let's see how we can do same. So let's close all this. Okay, so this is our project. And now in here, what we're going to do here is we need to create middleware. Now we're going to create two middlewares. The first middleware is going to be in the gateway. Now as soon as the gateway receives any request, it's going to access the header, and I'll add a specific content to the header. That is a request header before it pushes it to the service. As soon as it gets to the service, we're also going to create another middleware, which is going to access a specific header that the gateway set. As soon as it gets it, then it can verify that yes, this request has passed through the gateway, and therefore I can go ahead and process this. I hope you've understood the scenario. Good, that is what we're going to do. So let's go to our gateway API. Now let's right click on this. We're going to let's add a folder to this. And let's say this folder is middleware. So all middlewares are going to be kept here. Now let's add a class. And now maybe I can give the name of this as interception middleware, because this is going to intercept all requests and now modify the request before pushing it to the various services. So let's give this as intersection middleware. Now once I have this, or we have this middleware created, this needs to pass in a payload of a request delegate. So request delegate. Now let's make it as nest. So in here, let's have the method. So public async task, and that is invoke async. This takes in HTTP context. Can we say this is context? Alright, so in here, this is what we're going to do. It's very simple. A line will make this happen. So let's say this context that we have in here, dot request, that is coming in. That is coming in from the user. So dot request, that is coming from the user, dot headers. And now this headers, we want to modify this. So let's say this is referrer. So this referrer, meaning this is going to refer to a service. Now within this, we want to have access to maybe API gateway. So it means when we get to the service or the sub, we're going to check, does the request have a referrer? If yes, it has a referrer, meaning it has passed through the gateway. Now so after we have this, a wait that we can call next, execute the next middleware. Let's pass in the content that we have modified, and that is all. So when we have the next thing that we need to do here is copy this. Let's go in and register this middleware in the program.cs file. So in here, we're going to be using app.use middleware, and now let's pass in the middleware that we have created, terminated. We need to include the reference. So let's make sure we have the reference also included. And that is using gateway middleware. Great. So now we have this set. So all requests are going to be intercepted and now modified. Let's go to the various services. Now you can see that from here, if you decide to create a middleware for each, it means when you scale up your microservice by adding multiple or more services, you have to copy the same service and be pasting it in the various services. So in order for us to make this, in order for us to skip repeating code, we can add a class library where we're going to create a middleware in it. And now any project that we add, we can just go ahead and add this library. Sounds good, right? So let's do that. So let's go to solution. We add a new project. And now here, choose C# or class library. And now here, I'm going to make it a shared library. So shared library. And that is the name for this project. .NET 8 framework. And of course, let's get this project created. So once we have this project added, this is going to give us a default class. It comes in with the creation of a new project. So with this, maybe we can just rename this, and I'm giving the name of maybe restrict access middleware. Well, you can also give it a name of your choice. So let me have a restrict access middleware. Maybe we can put this in the folder, but since we have only one here, that's the reason why I'm not putting it in the folder. Okay. Now we need to also use the same thing. This has to take a request delegate. So request delegate So request delegate. And on this request delegate, in order for this to work, we need to install a package. That is a Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.HTTP.abstraction. So let's install this, find and install the latest. So we have this package installed, and now this is going to execute the Nest middleware. Let's give it as Nest. And as you know, we need to create a method, and this is going to be public async task, and that is invoke async. And this takes in HTTP context. So HTTP context, and we say this is contest. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do here is quite simple. Let's get the referrer. So referrer equal to, then we can extract this from the context, then request dot headers. And now with this headers, we know there's in case this request was issued by the gateway, it will definitely have referrer. So we can grab this, then we say grab first or default. Then we can now make a check. So if we have a string here, string dot is null or empty, then we're going to check the referrer. If this is empty, it means this request is not coming from the gateway. It is an external or direct request coming from harmful client. Then what can we do? Let's have context.response, then .response.status code. We can set this to status code. You have this dot, and then maybe 403. So we can use that. Okay, so let's say status 403 forbidden. And aside from that, we can have await context dot response dot, let's have a write async. Let's give this user some message, maybe can't find something like that, or unauthorized. Whatever that you want to give it to, he can give it. Okay, so I want to display can't find this page. Yes, or can't reach. I think I'll make it as reach, or you're not authorized. When we are done, the next thing is return. So this is going to intercept, and this is going to kill this request. So the next middleware won't get executed. Now this is going to return it with this error message. Good. So now that we have this, we can terminate this. Great. Now, but in case it isn't, then we can have else. Then what we do, let's say await. We have our nest, and I'll pass in the context. Let's grab this. Then, in order for us to use this middleware, what must we do? I believe you know, isn't it? Great. So you have to add the reference. So we need to add it to the weather forecast, right? So I click on dependencies, then shared library, select that, click on OK. The same thing applies to the identity, dependencies, project reference, then add it. Now let's include them in the various program files. So in here, what we're going to do in here is we need to use, maybe on top of the controller, we say app.use middleware. Then let's include this middleware. That's a request restrict access middleware. Oh, it shouldn't be here. Rather. Okay, so let's grab this. Let's go to the identity program.cs file, and in here we paste it there, and that is all. Let's build the project together. Now let's start this put it and test it out. That's great. 4 succeeded. So let's go and start our microservices. We're gonna have our first gateway, so we can start our gateway. Let's start also the identity. Then, lastly, weather. So our microservice is ready. Now this is the weather. We have it here. Great. Then we have the identity in here. Then we have, that is the gateway. Let's try to access this directly and see. So if I click on, try this out, execute, the response here is what? Forbidden. That is forbidden. You see this? Forbidden. Now let's see, in case we decide to run this, and I say this API/user, that's what's going to happen. So you can see, can't reach this page, right? So on the UI, we have forbidden as 403. And now, when you check it, direct access from here too, we have can't reach this page. Although this page is live, but we cannot reach it because the middleware has taken charge, and now it is doing magic. Let's use him to the weather forecast and check it out. Execute. The same forbidden. Let's grab this. Open a new tab. Then we're going to say API/weather forecast. Now let's test this out. The same thing. Hope you are getting it. Now once you have the same can't reach this page, let's go to the gateway. Now in here, we want to access the user. Check it out. Great, now you have the user from here. Do you see it? Let's grab the same, open new tab, and now instead of user, it's going to be what? Good, weather forecast, isn't it? Test it out, and now we have it. So we've able to achieve this, right? Now you cannot directly access the various services unless you pass through the API gateway. You now have a robust setup where each of your microservices communicate exclusively through the API gateway. Note, this approach is not only fortifies the security of your architecture, but also ensures a more streamlined and manageable traffic flow. Do not forget to subscribe to the Netcode-Hub channel for more tutorials and tips on mastering microservices and other .NET technologies. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, take care.